Namaste, and sometimes namaskar or namaskaram, is both a spiritual and secular greeting that people largely from India and Nepal, though not exclusively, and increasingly more so in other countries, extend to each other. Namaste is a combination of two Sanskrit words that are joined together through what is called sandhi, or modification of the basic sound of the words. The two words here are nama and te. Nama means to bow, and te is a short version of the word tubhyam, which in this case refers to the divine essence in you. When nama and te are joined together using sandhi, or sound modification, it becomes namaste, which means I bow to the divine in you, with the implication that it is the same divine that is in me. Namaste is basically a soul-to-soul or spirit-to-spirit greeting. The essential idea, which I first came across in the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda in the 1970s, is that God is omnipresent spirit or omnipresent consciousness. And since omnipresent means being present everywhere all the time, there is nowhere that God or this omnipresent consciousness is not. And so ultimately, we are inseparable from this consciousness, which manifests as the countless forms and species we see and don't see across all this manifold creation. This can be conceived like the swells and waves that temporarily arise from the ocean, which allows us to see and name them as such. And yet, we realize that they are not at all apart, distinct, or different from the ocean itself. So the conclusion is that God and the entire universe, including us, is essentially one. From both spiritual and scientific points of view, there is so much more to this than I will offer here, including the science around the microenergies or fields of energies that extend from the constant electromagnetic activity within and around each and every cell of our bodies, and notably our palms and our fingers. In the Western sciences, this was first theorized in the 1700s and then validated in 1939 through photographic imaging that was invented by Semyon Kirlian. In the spiritual sciences, bringing both palms and 10 fingers together has a very important meaning because each finger has its own symbolic significance. The thumb, for example, which is the most valuable and functional of all the fingers, is symbolic of the omnipresent spirit that is God. And the forefinger symbolizes the individualized spirit of God, which is in each of us. So joining the thumb and the forefinger together conveys the fundamental unity of the omnipresent spirit of God and a facet of that spirit, which is the spirit or the soul within each individual. But without going into more detail about all 10 fingers, and notwithstanding the meta symbolism just described about the thumb and the forefinger, I will simply say that they represent our 5 organs of perception and their 5 instruments. That is, our sense of sight and our eyes, our sense of hearing and our ears, our sense of smell and our nose, our sense of taste and our tongue, and our sense of touch and our skin. And so after all this explanation, the central point is that by placing our palms and fingers together and saying the word Namaste, we are signaling our reverence and respect to that aspect of the omnipresent spirit that is resident in those we greet in this way. That's why it's best to do our best to remember the principle of the omnipresence and try to be as conscious as we can whenever and to whomever we extend this gesture, while realizing that when genuine spiritual energies are aroused anywhere, they are truly aroused everywhere. Namaste to each and all.